It's that time again. If you're a real estate agent and you're looking to finally build a business that creates consistent cash flow, but you're concerned about all of the market disruptions, relax. You found your safe haven to learn the secret to success. List you last. Welcome to this week's podcast. Hey, welcome fellow listing agents. Bob Mangold, the listing coach, here with episode 48 of the If You List You Last podcast. As always, thanks for sharing and downloading, and most importantly, listening. Today, we're going to talk about how to get involved in the REO listing market. Now, in this episode, I'm going to interview two industry experts in the REO arena. So the information that we're going to share with you is coming from real live people that have their boots on the ground right now, working in the REO market. And because of the length of this interview, I'm going to skip the mortgage market update for this week. And unfortunately, there's nothing good to report anyway. So let's talk REO. Now, on this call, we're going to share a lot of valuable information you need to know before jumping into this listing niche. It's not for everybody. And at the very end, I shared a simple lead generation strategy for using HUD-owned homes for lead generation. You don't even have to have the listing, and you can generate leads from it. So make sure you listen all the way to the end. Just a reminder, make sure you join our Facebook group, the Real Estate Asset Advisors, so you can join in on the conversation, share your thoughts, comments, or questions on any of the topics I discuss right here on the podcast. So grab a cup of coffee and settle in, and let's roll on REO. Today, we're going to talk about REO, and it's one of the topics that tends to get a lot of attention, but there's a lot of moving pieces to it. And so what I'm going to do is I've got two gentlemen with me that are experts at this. Both of them teach for EXP and the REO division because they have so much experience. So Jerry Stapp is with us. He worked for one of the largest, or actually, was it the largest REO lender in the country?
One of them, yes.
So actually running the brokerage that got rid of all these properties and has been doing, has got, 20 years experience in REO. And then we have Robert White, who's one of the top REO brokers in the country. And so they both have intimate knowledge of how this process works. And really what we wanted to do today, folks, we wanted to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of REO. Because everybody goes, oh my gosh, I want to get into it. Well, it's cool, but there are some parts that you should know about because it's not all glamour, just in case you didn't know. Everybody thought all the REO brokers were making a gazillion dollars. So Angela says it's work. So guys, if you have questions, I'm going to encourage you to put those in and then I'll ask them as we're going through. So Jerry, why don't you just do a quick overview of what your experience is in doing this, and then same with you, Robert.
So the first go around REOs, we knee deep into it, how you do BPOs, cash for keys, but just how to satisfy the asset managers to start spreading the word of your talent, right? So all little idiosyncrasies, and I've been doing this for such a long time. So any questions you have for either of us, I think we can be able to answer that and get your feet wet and start learning how to do these.
And Robert's got boots on the ground experience where he was actually doing it. Jerry managed all the process, and Robert actually worked the process. So we got two guys that have a vast amount of experience. So Robert, why don't you tell them what you do or what you did? How's that?
Absolutely. Well, I'm grateful to be here. So thanks for having me. I got into the real estate industry in 1986. My mother started as an REO broker back in the late 70s, early 80s with American Savings. They actually came into her office, which at the time was the number one Century 21 in the country. So they came into her office, old school, and said, who wants this REO? And every top producer at the company said, I don't want it. My mom's like, I'll take it. Well, fast forward, she's probably the number one REO broker in the country, selling more REOs than anybody. That's how I got in as her assistant. Fast forward to the early 90s, the old stay alive till 95. I like to call it the glue stick era. If anybody was doing REOs back in the day, we were typing up our BPOs on a typewriter. And many of those on this call maybe don't even know what a typewriter is. But we'd go to the property, we'd take a photo, we'd run to the 1 hour photo, wait for it to be developed, run back to the office, get our glue stick out, pop those photos, live photos onto the BPO and drive to FedEx, and they were 7, 8 inches thick. Fast forward to the early 2000s, June of '05, I had 40 assignments on my desk at one time. And the reason why I bring that up is because REO is a wham, it just hammers you, and you need to be prepared. You need to be ready. And it is truly, as we'll talk about, I'm sure today, it's not for everybody. But I was approved with over 44 banks. I scored 1% with Freddie Mac. And what that means, Bob, is if you score a 10, you're fired. And everything about the REO space is all about grading and scoring and how well you're doing on this transaction in terms of getting the price. So it's super important. So I'm grateful to be here. I love the REO space. Just so we're clear, I don't want anyone losing their home ever. However, there are people in the pre-foreclosure market that need us, and there's people in the post-foreclosures. The corporate sellers need us just like any other traditional seller. So with enthusiasm, I'm here to help both sides. So
we hear a lot in the marketplace right now that, oh my God, the floodgate of foreclosures are going to happen. What are you guys' opinion of that right now?
Well, I know Robert and I have talked about this. I don't think we're going to see the floodgates like 08, 09, 010, but I definitely think we're gonna be getting some. Certain states will be, I think, a little more than other states. So we'll just have to keep an eye on some of the things that are going on in the economy and in the atmosphere, right? And see how it goes, right?
To Jerry's point, I think it'd be very foolish of the asset management companies to just flood the market. It'll bring the values down and they won't be able to maximize. So I think you're going to see a consistent set of waves, not a tsunami so much. They do need to clear out some toxic assets, and they're doing that currently. We Angela on this call has listings. I have listings. There's a lot of folks that have assignments currently, nowhere near where it's going to be. It's a different animal this time around. So I think you're going to see a constant set of waves, and it's really all about positioning yourself as an agent to be a resource for these asset management companies.
So that brings to mind, folks, if we go, hey, we're not expecting a floodgate right now, why should you even begin to get into it? And so I want to talk about the process. What does somebody do if they want to break into this so that you understand there's a process that you have to go through to build those relationships out in the REO community? So that takes a little bit of time. But Angela just said she's been assigned 3 this week. So it's not that they're not out there, folks. They're just not, it's not 08, 09 again. And I don't think we'll have that again, to be quite honest with you. I'm not sure why people are losing their house in this environment when generally what we find, they actually have equity. So we don't know why they don't work with an agent to get out from underneath that, but nonetheless, they do. So guys, let's talk about what is somebody who's not experienced in REO. What do they do now? How do they get into this? So Jerry, I'll let you go, and then Robert.
Well, one of the things I see agents that they need to be doing now, whether it's an REO property or whether it's traditional, how are they marketing themselves, right? What is their marketing strategy, right? I see them, they get a traditional listing, and I see some of the things they're doing on marketing or lack of. So really treating the listings you have now, because that's your brand. I mean, so when an asset manager looks you up and sees all that kind of stuff, the stuff that you put in your resume actually matches what's on the market right now. So having that robust marketing strategy, and then also just, learning all the different tools. But I know Robert and I both agree on this, is agents need to know how to evaluate properties, right? Signing up, getting some BPOs done, like just getting a lot of get that experience and start getting your certifications done. All these things you could do now to help you when they start to come.
So BPOs, Robert, you want to explain BPO for those that don't know?
Absolutely. BPO is the broker price opinion. And in my opinion, along with your resume and actually registering to let these banks and asset management companies know you exist, because they're certainly not going to come looking for you. I find that doing a BPO for the right companies, now I want to make sure we're clear on that. There's a lot of like companies out there just firing out a bunch of BPOs, taking your name off of it and putting your information. You need to be doing BPOs, broker price opinions, for the right asset management companies and servicers and hedge funds. You need to be doing the right BPOs, and that is your calling card. If you do a really good BPO, that's going to give the impression to the asset manager that hey, this is someone I can count on. Because at the end of the day, valuating a property is the big deal, because that's their numbers are pretty much in stone, whereas a traditional seller is, hey, I'll get what the market will bear. These asset management companies, they're reporting up to higher, folks that are saying they don't care about anything else other than the numbers. So doing a great BPO is the leverage that agents need to become a resource, not only for that asset management company, but for everybody that they know, because they will not keep you a secret. If you do a great job, they'll share it with your friends and family. Or in their industry. So BPOs are the number one tool, in my opinion, to leverage yourself to get REO listings.
And the other thing too, folks, you do get paid for them. So I didn't say you're going to get rich from them, but you do get paid. Whether or not it validates the time that you spend is another story. But realistically, what it is, it's the combination to get into the safe, right? So the way that I view it anyway, even if you broke even on doing BPOs, but you went and put 5 or 10 really good relationships in place, trust me, that's a great day then. Okay. So how does somebody find out where to go to start doing BPOs, and what are the right companies? So I'm always careful to say the right companies.
If you're asking me, I can certainly tell you that you start with the companies like ResNet. They're portals that work with asset management companies. Like each portal, like ResNet and Equator and Pyramid, those are the top 3 that work with many different asset management companies. So I think it's important to at least register for them first, and then you start doing the BPO work from the companies that they work with. Those typically are the ones that are going to lead to assignments. It's the ones that say, hey, if you do this BPO, I'll pay you if you sign up for $395 and I'll start sending you BPO orders. I would stay away from them. I would go for most the ones that are directed from the major brands like Equator, ResNet, and Pyramid.
Absolutely. And the average real estate agent right now, doesn't even know how to use, like Equator and Pyramid and ResNet. And you can open up these accounts and start to get familiar with them, get your bio, get your photo, get everything in there, start to learn these systems, right? That's really, really huge.
And what these asset managers are looking for, folks, are agents who do know how to use them, right? So if you go, hey, I don't know how to do it today, great. Then you got to go in and learn how to do it so that you become comfortable with it, because for good or bad, when you screw up, you get a bad reputation quick.
Very quick.
So do it the right way the first time. Don't do bad CMAs and BPOs, but that's really what they are. Put time and effort, put, neatness counts, right? All these things. Imagine this, a BPO to me is nothing more than a job interview. You just don't know you're being interviewed. They're paying attention to everything you do. They may ask you why, to defend your value sometimes. Well, you need to be able to have an intelligent conversation with people. These guys, these asset managers can release literally millions and millions of dollars of inventory. They're not turning it over to somebody who doesn't know what they're doing. Does that make sense? So you do have to educate yourself. Monica said those require subscriptions. They do. So folks, if you want to be in the REO game, you have to play where they're at, right? Because they have what you want, which is inventory. And so they do require subscriptions, they do require knowledge, and they do require your time and effort to go in and do these things, okay? So we want to start out with doing BPOs. You do want to sign up and set up for those. I would say Equator is probably the most important one out of that. Yes or no?
I would say Equator and ResNet are equally important, because they each have their book of business that send them the different asset management companies that use Equator. There's a group of asset management companies that use ResNet. So I think that if you're going to do any of them, you do Equator, ResNet, and Pyramid at the same time. And I would personally, and to Monica's point, sure, they're subscription based. You can get in and get a free profile, and that's what I would recommend, is get a free profile with every company. And then the ones that you feel like the Equators, the ResNets, and the Pyramids, those are the ones I would upgrade my membership to, probably not the others yet. So be careful. You can spend a lot of money on getting into REO with no success. So it's very important to really pay attention to that.
And I would say stay with the big ones, folks. You'll hear the term, or if you do get into it, BPO mills. BPO mills are the ones, hey, we'll pay you $20 to do this, and here's 30 of them or whatever. And all they're doing is literally, like Robert said, they're taking your name off, slapping their name on, and the REO asset managers never see your name. So you do want to be careful. So my recommendation is stay with the big ones initially, definitely get knowledge in it up front, and go from there. Okay. So the next step, guys, they can start getting some BPOs. What should they do next?
Well, in order to get a BPO, in order to get, Equator and all this up and running, what I would do if I was them, I would create a folder on their desktop. I would make sure they have their bio, their photo. They need to get the company's E&O insurance. They need to get their brokers, all that license information. They need to get all that information to apply. And then, like, what I would do is I would take the top asset manager companies, and I would make sure I have the certifications, because some of them want their own certifications from certain companies, right? And then I would just go in and I would start applying, right? And I would start, and it's to go through and apply to some of these companies. It takes a while, right? And then once I do that, then I would go to some of these events. I would meet some of the asset managers, right? And then also I would find the BPOs that directly connect to them, and I would try to do as many BPOs as I could, right? Because evaluating to me has been pretty easy over the past 4 years, guys. Evaluating a property, giving a price, but what happens if the market levels or adjusts, and you really got to nail that price of that broker's price opinion, right? So I would try to do all of that and start get paid to do some of these BPOs also for some of the expenses, and then start talking to asset managers and go to these events, because there was just a 5-star event and there's another one coming up, right? So go to those events, get your system set up, start doing BPOs, start applying to these asset managers, and then start looking for some of your local servicers, start applying for them. To me, a big one in my area is, credit unions, right, are a big thing. If you look at 08, 09, 010, credit unions weren't really, servicing and doing a lot of loans. If you go fast forward to today, there's some huge credit unions that handle certain counties, and those are a great way to get in and also introduce yourself.
So, Robert, what events should people be going to?
Well, I think Jerry mentioned 5-star, which was just last week in Dallas. Angela, I think, was there too. A lot of our team was there, and it's always, of the last 23, I've gone to maybe 21 of them. As you know, we're driving the country in the RV, so it's a little bit more difficult to just up and go to a conference. But I think 5-star, put it on your list. And also go to DS News to get updates on what conferences are coming. I think REOMAC, which is now called NADP, which is National Association of Default Professionals. I run their Facebook group, and I'm on a couple of different committees there. Those are the granddaddies of the REO space. You'll see a lot of copycats pop up, so be careful. But I think those are the two main ones. If you're going to go to the conferences, which I think is absolutely imperative to your growth, 5-star and NADP, which NADP is this coming week. I think they're in Boca Raton this week. So those are the two real big ones that I'd go to.
Boy, bad week for that in Boca.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now that you mentioned it, right?
Wow.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, folks, I would tell you is, Monica said there's subscriptions. Guys, is it pretty safe to say that you have to invest money to be in the REO side of the business?
I would say yes, but smart. Be smart about it. Be smart about it, right? I mean, there's agents that are investing in things that cost money, but they're not getting the free stuff done, right? They're not getting the practical stuff done. They're not getting their resume done. They're not getting their photo in Equator done. So all those little marketing items, and then there's things they're putting on their resume that doesn't match what's online. So get those things done, right?
But this isn't something that you get into where it's free. And so we're going to get into the money part of it, right? So let's talk about cash for keys. So Robert, just kind of run through it real quick and tell people what cash for keys is.
Absolutely. Cash for keys is a chance for the new owner, which is the bank, to get the property in as little banged up condition as possible. A lot of times it's taken adversely. It's the previous owner is not real excited about what's going on, so they sometimes thrash the property. I've seen so many of my REOs that have been the dumping ground for items that the previous occupant doesn't no longer want: cars, furniture, trash. So we're offering, the banks are offering cash for keys relocation assistance, if you will. Number one, to help along the process, but number two, and a very important number two, is to preserve the asset. So we have little to no work to do when we get ready to market. So it's a great way for having a distressed occupant, now no longer the owner, occupant, to go to their next step, to move on and give the property back to us, so we can actually don't have to spend a lot of time and money on it. But it's a negotiation process. It's between the eviction coordinator and the occupant. Our job as an agent is to run point, to be introducing the occupant, boots on the ground, to the eviction coordinator, so they can coordinate a cash for keys relocation assistance. I find that the properties through relocation means that the property has to be in working order. It has to be in broom swept condition. I find the ones that don't want to do cash for keys is because they've decided that, wow, we've really thrashed this property. It's going to cost us way too much to clean it up. So cash for keys is a good thing.
So he said that really diplomatically, in case you guys didn't know it. He said, you're the point person. That means you're the one knocking on the door, making the offer, folks. So that's the good, bad, the ugly part. That he just said it really nicely.
They're not always excited, Bob, to see you. Just know that. They're not all of them. Most of them are going to take it out on you because you're the first actual live contact you've had about the situation. So those are some things that we probably want to make sure your head's on a swivel, but that's sure we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, gotta show them the money, right? Show them the money, right? Have that finesse, have some empathy. I mean, they lost their home, right? Or there's a renter in there that's losing their home one way or the other, and just go there, try to have a good conversation with them, right? And just show them the money, right? Because they're gonna need it. So that's my biggest thing is, well, I went and they didn't connect. Just talk to them, be persistent, and show them the money.
So that leads to the next question. Where does the money come from, guys?
Well, it can come from two places, right? So like utility bills and cash for keys, sometimes you have to front that. I mean, a lot of times they have time to issue the CFK, and they have time to issue the money to you and have the check ready for the date, but sometimes you have to front it yourself, right? And so you gotta have that expenses ready to go, right?
So guys, bear in mind that, again, if you're fronting that money, one of the things that you have to have if you're going to get into the REO space is cash flow, right? Because there's other expenses, and we'll talk about them as we go through, but cash for keys could be the first expense. So like, Robert, why don't you walk through what some of the other expenses are? Like, once you get the property, hey, they take a cash for keys, you just get assigned. What else is going to start to happen there that they need cash flow for?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of moving parts when it comes to REO. For instance, some of it depends on how big the bank is. Now, if it's a Freddie or Fannie, they typically put the the utilities in their name. But if you got a smaller mid-level bank, they're going to say, hey, Robert, go ahead and turn on the utilities in your name, submit an invoice when the bill comes, and we'll get you reimbursed. And that's fine. I'm okay with that. You're going to need some money. You're going to have an account set up specifically for the REO business that you're running. The more business you do, the more money you'll need. But most of them do utilities in their name, which I like, but not all. A lot of them do the rekey, but not all. Sometimes I have to front it 75 to $100 at a time, and then I get reimbursed. Well, if you have all these expenses out and you're getting reimbursed, you're going to need to have some cash flow that's coming in to set up your REO expenditures. And now I've only done cash for keys for maybe a handful of different banks. So it's the big expenses aren't going to be as prevalent as maybe the utilities and a lot of those nickel and dime stuff that add up. But you will need some money to be a part of this, not only with the initial services like utilities, trash out. Very rarely will I be fronting money for major rehabs. That's usually done between the marketing director and the vendors directly. But every now and then you might get a call from your asset manager that sent you 10, 15 deals a month, says, hey, Robert, can you front the $10,000 it takes to do the rehab? I'm going to tell them, sure, absolutely. Let's get that done, because we're getting a lot of business. So it makes sense. So you certainly need to have some cash flow for sure.
So which brings to mind now, Jerry's expertise in this was really the paper flow of this for, what did you guys have, Jerry? Like 300 agents, something like that?
Yeah, it was up there, and I was, I just, when Robert was talking, I just remember some of these things that we had to learn when we were doing this, and like getting the receipts for some of these vendors, right, and not chasing them. So yeah, absolutely.
Because you need to be reimbursed, folks. And here's the thing, these providers, if they say you have 10 days to get me the information, Jerry, how many days do you have to get those information?
You want to get it in. You want to get it in earlier. So here's a little tip I could tell every single one of you guys. And this tip is literally will save you thousands and thousands of dollars, right? Don't pay anybody without a receipt. That simple. Okay. I mean, there's been times that my agent went and did a rekey, and the guy asked, hey, can you go ahead and pay me now? And I'll send you a receipt later. Just don't do it. Okay. Just get a receipt, get a receipt, get a receipt. And then also let these vendors know that the longer you take to ask for to give me a receipt, the shorter you might not be able to get paid, right? So reimbursement, receipts, all of that you need to be able to get reimbursed, and stick to the timelines of the bank, of the asset manager, or otherwise you might not get paid back.
And here's the thing.
Add two things, Bob.
Go ahead.
Two things. On time is late, so do it early. So if they're asking for a 48 hours, do it in 24. People always love to procrastinate, and something always comes up. So if it's on time, you're late. So do it early. And the other thing is get relationships with your vendors. If you're required to, let's say, pay for the rekey or a trash out or a clean or any kind of vendor type of service, you need to have relationships in place that they understand the process of an REO. This is not a typical transaction. There's a reimbursement process. I would personally rather have my contractors wait until they've submitted the invoice, submitted the after photos, they've given me time to upload it to the bank, get reimbursed from the bank, and then they get compensated. That's what a great vendor relationship will allow you to do.
Absolutely.
And so for those of you guys asking about, hey, where do you go to get the BPOs and stuff? So we've put it into the chat box. So like Robert put in res.net, equator.com, pyramidplatform.com, and reonetwork.com. So you can grab those out of the chat box on top of it, but those are the good ones to keep in mind. But my point in bringing that topic up, folks, was if they tell you 10 days, they don't pay you on day 11. You just made that mistake for most vendors, okay, or most of the providers. Each one is going to have a different number of days that they need you to do that with. So don't think because 5 of the 10 that you work with have a 10-day window. Well, guess what? The other ones might have a 7-day window, and you just thought, oh, I had 10 days. Yeah, don't make that mistake. Keep a little Excel spreadsheet, throw it in your Outlook calendar, whatever you have to do. Know what that time is, and make sure that when you submit it with everything that they want.
Yep.
Because if you don't, and they got to come back, and you submitted it on the 10th day, and they come back on the 11th day, and you don't get it to them until the 12th day, sorry, in most cases. That also comes into what Robert was talking about. It also is the relationship that you have with that, with that asset manager too, right? But the thing is, you just have to understand everything is about that scorecard. So Robert, why don't you talk a little bit about that? Because it's kind of like Yelp reviews, guys. The difference being you don't get to have anything except 5-star reviews. So it's a big deal. So talk a little bit about that scorecard, Robert, and what they look at and how to make sure you maintain it.
Well, like I talked about when I first opened up, that I've scored 1% with Freddie Mac. Their scoring scale was 1 is the best, 10 is you're fired. So, and they literally had report cards they send to you every week, and then every month and every quarter, and they want to make sure that you understand what your scorecard is, so you can better yourself. But that's how they decide. Like in a baseball game, who's got the highest batting average is going to start off the game. So my point is, every single thing we do, from accepting the assignment, from doing the cash for keys, from doing the BPO, every single step, every task that we're asked to do is scored upon. You want to accept it right away, and you want to handle the task right away. You do not want to wait, because they literally will look at it and go, wow, Jerry Stapp always scores very high. That's who I'm going to use in this area. Whereas, hey, this agent, man, they just can't seem to get their BPOs right. Their score is very low. I'm going to wait. If I become desperate, maybe I'll use them, but I'm only going to use the agents that really score well. And they literally score you, Bob, they score you on everything, from how long it takes you to accept the assignment, to how long it takes you to accept the BPO, how long it takes to complete the BPO. So you're scored literally on everything. Super important.
And so just bear that in mind, folks, because it's Yelp on steroids.
Yeah.
If you want to get deals. Now, if you don't care about getting assignments, then mess that up. But the key is to have systems in place for your paperwork, for, checking your email. Agents are horrible about checking email. Well, guess what? If you're in the REO space, you better be checking your emails. You better have them forwarded to your phones, whatever it takes to be able to do that. Because when they assign you a BPO or they assign you an asset, you need to be there like ASAP and accept. And if not, you might be doing all these BPOs and you're going, well, why am I not getting assignments? Because you're not scoring real well. You're taking 24 hours or 36 hours to accept a BPO. They'd still have you do it because they maybe don't have somebody else in the market. But if you don't get a high enough score, they'll go find somebody else in the market. So just bear that in mind. Okay. So guys, let's walk through the process. You get assigned a listing, right? So you did the BPO, you get assigned the listing. What happens from that point? So Jerry, you're the paperwork guy. What happens at that point?
Well, let's just say they're using Equator, right? In Equator, they're tasked, just like in some of the other systems. There's tasks, and those tasks have color codes on them. Green, yellow, red, right? When a task first comes out, it comes out as green, right? And if you get a yellow task, then you got a bad grade, right? But the first task is going to be accept or reject, the property, right? And then once you accept it, there might be like does it have an HOA, that kind of stuff. But then the next question they're going to ask you is, they're going to ask a task for you to go out and check occupancy, right? And let's just say Robert and I were going to the Angel game tonight, and you're one of our agents that got a property assigned to you, and you accepted it, and it's around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and we have to be at the game at 5. And you call Robert and I and say, hey, you know what? I don't know if I'm going to be able to go by and check occupancy tonight. I'll just go by in the morning tomorrow. Right? And I was like, well, no, you need to go by and check it tonight and be late to the game, right? And then I would tell them, well, if a traditional listing asks you to go by and check to see if they turn the water off before leaving for the weekend, would you go by and do it? And they say yes. So how is this any different? Right? And so you got to be Johnny on the spot. You got to grab it. You got to do it and satisfy the asset manager and get that task done early. So that would be the first big task, is going to check occupancy and making sure when you put down that it's vacant, it really is vacant. I can't tell you how many times an agent that would put down that it's vacant, and then the Reiki guy went out there and walked in on them eating, right? So just making sure that that it's vacant. It's not always that easy, but make sure that it's vacant or occupied. So those are the first couple tasks.
And then what happens after that, Robert?
Well, you know what I can tell you real quick. I want to add to Jerry's thing real quick. Answer your phone, because new relationships start off with a phone call. they'll call you once, and if you don't answer, they'll call the next person, and you're done. So pick up your phone. I know agents don't love to answer their phone. If you need to, what I'd recommend, if you're really bullish on the REO space, have your own phone for the asset managers. I call it my asset manager family phone, because that's the phone I pick up no matter what. If my wife calls, I don't care what's going on in my life, that call gets answered. Just like an asset manager, answer the phone. That's how they make the initial contact, is by phone, not by email, not by text, by phone. Text actually literally calling you. So that's important. But I think the biggest thing to what Jerry said is to remember is, if they want, you need to report back within 24 hours if it's occupied or not. Now, there's certain times you don't know if it's occupied or not. You can't quite tell. They do a good job with pulling the shades. You can't really see what's up. So you got to side on the air of caution that it's occupied until you know for sure it's vacant. Because like I said, we'll go in there and rekey a property and they're eating dinner. We don't want to have that situation, which happens. Because most of these people are ducking us. They're not wanting to, they know if they answer the door, that means they've got to move. So we need to just do our due diligence. I would recommend probably not going into the backyard, but definitely peek. We check utilities to see if they're still on. Usually if utilities are on, it means it's potentially occupied. A lot of times if power's been off for some time, that tells us that it's probably more of a non-occupied property, but we need to report back in 24 hours, period. You got to do it. I think personally, I'd do it in 12. Take those timeframes and cut them in half. That's a good rule of thumb. But once we have figured out if it's occupied, we need to gather the information. We need to make sure we go to the property. There's lots of different steps. If you want me to expand on how to determine occupancy, I'll certainly do that. But you want to make sure it's occupied. If it is, you need to gather the information for whoever's in the property, and you forward that to the eviction coordinators to negotiate the cash for keys relocation assistance. If it's not occupied, that'll trigger a BPO right away. If it is occupied, you more than likely won't have a BPO quite yet. So there's just certain steps. If it's occupied, you go this direction. If it's vacant, you go this direction.
Right, cool. One question. What about the auto acceptance companies? Unless you're on an email within seconds of the BPO coming out, most of the time the auto system has snatched it.
I was just reading that, and those are typically your BPO mills that do that. Yeah. Sure, Equator and ResNet sends out their generic stuff, and you don't accept it quickly. REO is relationship based. Hey, Robert, I have a BPO for you in San Diego. Can you do it? Those are the BPOs that I do. The BPO mill where I have to accept it. Those are typically the ones I stay away from. Those aren't relationship based. Those are more just blasting out based. So I don't typically waste any time with the ones that are gone like that. So you'll identify who's who after a while.
And folks, that's another reason you want to go to these events. It's about building that relationship. If you try and call an asset manager on the phone, the likelihood you get them, probably not great. But if you're at these 5-star events and the rest of them, you're actually getting face-to-face with these people. You actually get to put, a face to the name and things like that, where you do build that relationship. And so I can't encourage enough, if you're serious about doing it, that you do have to be involved in it, and you do have to go to those events, because that's where you get the relationships. So you're not messing around with these BPO mills, because what her question was, like Robert said, if you're in there where, hey, they're gone within seconds, just a BPO mill, probably better to just stay away from it. Go build the relationships. Just like in regular residential real estate, that's what happens. Okay. So let's talk about compensation on these, because everybody goes, oh my God, you're getting 10 or 15 of these a month, not in this environment, but back in the day. Are you guys getting 3% on all of those?
You go first, Robert. I'll go second. Okay.
Typically, I do have some REO assignments currently. I have multiple REOs in different phases. I have a few in pre-foreclosure, so it's occupied. I have a couple that are just getting ready to market. I have one that's currently in pending. But most every bank has their own way of doing things. I find that Freddie, Fannie Direct, they go right to the source, to you, the agent. Whereas maybe like through Equator, ResNet, they go through an asset management company. So it's kind of a pass through. I'm finding that most of those relationships offer a full 5%, 2.5%, 2.5%, and 1% going to the asset management company. That is typical. I do find some companies that maybe charge a little bit more. So you'll get 2% as the listing agent and 2.5% as the buyer agent. But the last time I checked, 2% on here's 5 new listings. That's a good day at the office. I mean, if you look at it, the income opportunities in REO, can I expand on that just real quick, Bob?
Yeah, please.
The income opportunities in REO, you've got the BPO, which you're not going to certainly retire anytime soon, but what it's doing is it's getting you the momentum to be a resource for the asset management company. So you can make anywhere between 50 and 75, depending on if it's interior or exterior. But if you make the BPO shine, that's your calling card. That's your, hey, Robert does a really good job. He's in a different file. This guy is the guy, go-to guy. So the BPOs, you can make a little bit of money, but it's more importantly, you're building your business. When you get the REO assignment, sure, you're going to make your commission. But the thing with REOs, unlike a traditional seller, they don't go, well, you know what? I think I'm going to wait until the market gets better. No, these REO assignments need to get off the books. So every one of these listings need to close. And they're going to foster new listings because you have so many signs out. There was one time my mother, brother, and I had 1,000 signs in San Diego during the REO, back in the REO time. So we're getting a bunch of short sale business, a bunch of traditional business. So it fosters so much more opportunity. But to your specific point, every asset manager understands that we all need to be compensated to do a good job. I think it's important. But I find that most of them take 1% off the top, the asset management company, and give us 2.5%. I've had some, Bob, not very many. Some where I'm getting 1%, but it's a bulk thing. And they look at the big picture. So it's a business decision, and it's a great way to help those corporate sellers for sure.
So, and here's because Robert brought up at one time he had 1,000 signs out. One of the biggest mistakes I find folks in the REO space make is that they sell the listing and they don't do anything to capture the new buyer into their database, right? So if Robert's got 1,000 properties that he sold, just know this, folks, 900 of the 1,000, their agent will never stay in touch with them again. It's just the nature of the real estate business, the way it is. I would get those people into drip systems, inherit them as your own, and start to market to that database. Because what I found after the REO market, from the 08-09 boom, once it came back down to normal, well, a lot of these REO agents forgot how to be residential agents, and they didn't capitalize on the databases that they could have built or the leads that they could have generated from those REO assets. Because nothing gets traffic like the word bank owned. So if you have an REO listing, I would go get the black and yellow core plus signs that say bank owned, and you're going to get leads from that. And I'd have that as I put it into MLS, as I'd post that in Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace. Bank owned will get you more deals than anything else out there, or more leads than anything else out there. And I got a lot of agents who go, yeah, but a lot of those are just investors. And I go, oh my God, you mean investors like the one who buy properties, fix them up, and then flip them? You probably wouldn't want to work with somebody who's flipping 5, 10, 15 homes a year now, would you? So there's a bigger picture to this that allows you not just the REO business, but to take that well beyond and set yourself up for the future.
Hey, Bob, to your point, you got to figure that most REO assignments, I'm averaging about 21 days from the time we are able to put a sign in the yard. That's when it's vacant. But you don't want to put a sign in the yard when it's occupied. As soon as it's vacant, we put a sign in the yard that says, in case of emergency, please contact. But we're also letting the buyer public know that we've got a property coming up. So we've got a 21-day exclusivity window to build up all those buyers that, only one's going to get the home. Talk about building your database. I mean, you're getting a lot of folks reaching out to you. Tell us about your property at 123 Main Street. We don't have a price yet. We'll certainly let you know. We'll add you to our list as soon as it's available. So you're building up your database huge for your buyer agents.
Right. So a lot of you probably, at least in your mind, you're struggling to get a buyer agency agreement signed, right? Well, guys, what if you could talk to people and say, hey, I do a lot of work with banks and asset managers. What I do is I let my clients know about those generally about 21 days in advance. So I know you told me, hey, all you have to do, you don't need an agent. You're going to save that commission. You're going to just go to Zillow. What you don't realize is that 21 days before a property hits the market, that's when the best deal's there, and only my clients know about those. Another way to help establish why somebody hires you. Make sense? So there's all kinds of benefits from this aside from just the REO side of the business, if that makes sense. And then if you do open houses with those bank owned, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so
it's a bonanza.
let me just I'll tell you what I tell agents now, and I tell agents even way back in the heyday, right? When an agent calls me now, or they call me way back in the heyday, well, Joey, I want to get into the REOs. Okay, well, let me pull up your pipeline. Let me see how many listings you did this year. And they say, well, I did 4. Okay, let's talk about the marketing that you did for those 4, right? Did you leverage it for more business? Did you do the right pricing? Did you have the right strategy? Did you get massive buyer? Did you advertise the sellers in the area most likely to move to come to your open house? Did you do all of that? Oh, no, but I'll do that. And I'll do that if I get an REO assignment. Well, if you're not doing it now, what makes you think you're going to do it when you get an REO assignment, right? So, do it now. Continue to be hunters when you get an assignment, right? And then leverage it for more business. Robert and I are still getting buyers and sellers off of listings that we sold over a year ago, over 2 years ago. We're still getting leads off of that business in our CRM, in our database, in our Facebook referrals. All of that we're continuing to get now. So continue to be hunters on whatever type of listing that you're doing. Leverage, and use today's current technology to increase your business even more on every single listing.
And Angela just said, me too. By the way, for you guys that hear me talk about the open houses that we do, Jerry and his daughter are the ones who hold our record for 1,224 attendees in an open house.
Insane.
And if I can expand on what Jerry just said, Bob, the about setting yourself up for, like, for instance, if you only had 4 listings and you want to get into the REO space, I'll do it once I get the REO. I think the best way to get positioned for the REO space is working with the notice of default, the notice of trustee homeowners in our area. You're number one, you're doing a great deed for somebody in your community and helping them right the ship. Many of them don't want to sell, but when they realize, wow, maybe I do need to sell, and you've helped them out, they're going to come to you. So that's listings now. But what it does, it lets you know, it introduces you to the process. You get to talk to these banks. You get to talk to the loss mitigation departments. You get to talk to the folks in pre-foreclosure. And many times those are the same folks that you deal with on the REO side. So pre-foreclosure, as an agent right now, go get those pre-foreclosure listings, go help those people, and then it transitions you into the REO space. So that's super important.
And the other thing I would tell you, folks, it's part of your resume, that package in the beginning. Think of it as a listing presentation, if you will, for an asset manager. Like, you need to lay out what marketing systems you have. Hey, here's why I'm going to get you the highest price, because Robert, Jerry, what do these guys get paid bonuses on?
Closing on time first, closing within the month.
Yeah.
There's a lot of incentives.
The more money they get for the house, the more bonus money the asset manager gets. So you're going to want to appeal to them with your marketing systems and your strategies, telling them what you do, right? Like, if you had let's say 1,000-person database that would be so easy to get of people waiting for new listings, right? Go run a couple of ads in Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, completely free. Just saying something like, hey, if you want access to bank-owned properties 21 days before they hit the market, go here. Now you take and show that ad with the database that you have and say, Mr. and Mrs. Asset Manager, here's the list of people I have waiting to be notified about new properties coming. Do you think that'll set you apart from the competition when they're looking at, hey, who am I going to go after? What is it that you're going to do to market that property? How are you going to handle the open house? What's your track record with an open house? So like Jerry and Robert, they actually have video. We videotape every one of our open houses. So when people go, Jerry, you're full of crap. You can't get 1,200 people at an open house. He goes, really? Watch this. Well, do you think that would be a great set of videos to send to an asset manager? So we're intentional about the things that we do to go after the business. You simply need a marketing plan, a strategy, a listing presentation, however you want to refer to it. You have to prepare that. And then by all means, folks, you should make it look professional. Not a Word document that's a checklist. Go hire somebody on Canva to make it look nice for you. Because that's your business card for these asset managers. Does that make sense? All right, cool. So, Angela, I'm going to just unmute you. I think I can unmute you. Anything that we've missed? Oh, actually, I can't. Anything that we missed that you can think of? Angela's obviously got a lot of experience in there. I think she's still here. She is.
Bob, she can unmute herself.
Oh, okay, cool. So what questions do you guys have? Is REO something for everybody? Probably not. But it's a great business. You just have to commit to it. It's a niche, right? And like right now, Robert, how many listings roughly, call it a month on average, are you getting?
You know what? Right now, it's not as busy as I'd like, but I'm getting 2 to 3 inquiries a month, whether it be in the very beginning stages. Hey, Robert, can you do a BPO? We have a property coming. To, hey, this is now, get the tenant out and we can go to market. So it's anywhere between 2 or 3 inquiries per month.
Okay, Jerry, how about you?
Very, very low for now.
It's about the same because we're in California. It's about the same.
Yeah. So, but guess what, guys? This is the time that you want to do that. Like, I'll at least give you my opinion anyway. Robert and Jerry can chime in on it. You don't want to be a brand new REO agent and have some asset manager assign you 10 properties and you don't know what to do. Like, that would be the kiss of death. And so now one of the reasons that we wanted to do this was to give people time to start to do that research. And there are classes that you can go to. There are certifications that you can get. Right? This is not an EXP promo, but at EXP, Robert and Jerry are on that committee. Robert's the head trainer of that for REO certification. There are places you can go to learn this stuff. You can go to Equator. You can go to these events. Trust me, guys. They have this thing. It's called YouTube. Any of you guys ever heard of that one? That thing called YouTube? It's the greatest training portal for anything on the planet. And when I say anything, I'm not kidding, anything. But trust me, there's all kinds of information in there. Go and learn those things. But this is actually a really good time to start getting yourself warmed up, learning how to do BPOs. Same idea, guys. You don't want to go in there and all of a sudden you get assigned 50 BPOs. I promise you, your life would be difficult at that moment. Are there certain geographic areas that tend to get harder or faster than others? Yes. So, Terry, like in Arizona, back in 08, 09, Arizona, Florida, Vegas, California, we were the top dogs. Pretty much look at where you have massive migration, which is still the Texas, Arizona, Florida, whatever. They're going to have a higher incidence of that than others, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't go on anywhere else. It's just higher incidence of, right? So yeah, your bigger markets, Detroit usually has a lot, Chicago, a good amount. So a lot of your big cities definitely do. But there are plenty of small towns that have the same thing. They're not as big of listings or whatever. Yvonne, who's not on here, she's in a more of a rural place in Oklahoma. She probably gets a couple listings a month on average. Now those couple listings a month are 35 to 50,000 bucks, but she does get them. And so geographically, just where you see migration patterns, that's where it's at. But this is the time to kind of get into that. That's why we wanted to do that. Angela, was there anything else we should have been talking about that we didn't? I think you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I would say find out who assigns the HUD properties in your area, who's got the HUD contract in your area, and have a really strong resume prepared to apply for HUD. I get assignments through PEMCO Limited right now, and I'm in Washington State, so that's 6S area. Find out what your area is, get a strong resume, and have that ready for when they reassign them, because that's every 3 years, and that's coming up pretty soon.
Yeah, imagine getting all the HUD homes. Again, not a million of them right now, but imagine getting all the HUD homes in a market.
I'm a HUD broker in San Diego, and we go through A-Team Realty. They have the HUD contract for California and many other states. It's a great account to have, but I would definitely recommend that take this time before the REOs do get here. Take this time to prepare yourself, build your resume, go out there and, like I mentioned, work with the notice of default, notice of trustees, work in the distress space, have that on your resume. Go to the different resources like 5-Star and NADP and really get plugged in so you know what's happening. Pay attention to the fault space as it relates to your personal market. Track the NODs and NOTs to see how many there are coming so you know exactly what's going on, so you understand the lingo. Because an asset manager, when they call you and say, tell me about your REO experience, and you go, well, I have a REO, they're going to know you don't know what you're talking about. So just little things like that. Really dive in, immerse yourself. I'm not saying clear your calendar and that's all you're doing, but spend an hour or two a week and just put on your REO hat and get immersed in that process so you speak the language, because it is certainly a different language. So that's what I would suggest. And I would go to dsnews.com and sign up for their daily dose. And I can put it in the chat box, but that'll tell you all the stuff that's going on as it relates to the loss mitigation space. And that's really where you need to be, in my opinion, first.
All right. So one last question, and Angela, Robert, doesn't matter which one of you guys know. Could I go do an open house on a HUD? I'd have to call the listing agent and get him to okay that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So here's the thing, guys. Go get 100 yellow and black Corplast signs printed, bank owned, open house. You need business. You go put 100 signs out that say bank owned. You promote that on Craigslist and Facebook Marketplace, so that's free. You'll have more business than you know what to do with. Now, you better be prepared to talk to them about why buy a house through you and things of that nature. Chances are great they may or may not buy that house that you're in, but you better be able to talk to them about why they should buy a house through you. So when I hear agents say, oh, I'm struggling for leads, guys, it's as simple as that. You can go to signsonthecheap.com. I don't know, Jared, do you remember even what they charge anymore?
You could get 100 of them, $220 shipped, and then just get the H-stakes from Amazon.
And so at the end of the day, guys, it's that simple to do business in real estate. So if you're struggling with that stuff right now, hey, I don't want to get into REO and I don't want to mess around with that. Great. Go get 100 signs. Jared, we didn't get 1,200 people to an open house by putting out 3 signs, did we?
No, we didn't. We really started about a week before the open house, and the marketing, the advertising, good old-fashioned postcard invites to most likely to move, all of that stuff we did.
And it wasn't bank owned. So I'm just telling you guys, the word bank owned is gold in the real estate marketing space. Has always been, always will be. So if you need business, start reaching out to those HUD home listings. Call the agent, make sure they're cool with it. I can't imagine a reason that they wouldn't be. And start doing that. You'll have all the business that you can handle. That I can promise you.
Bob,
My first home, the first house that I ever sold was a HUD home where I did that.
About HUD, they have what's called the Good Neighbor Next Door program. And you don't need the listing agent's approval for that. You can go into the HUD home store and pull up the information on the Good Neighbor Next Door. It gives them firefighters, paramedics, nurses, police, all of them. Go to Good Neighbor Next Door, and you can promote that on all your social media, saying they literally give those buyers a 50% off list price. For example, if the home is worth 500, it's listed for 500, they'll sell it to the Good Neighbor Next Door participant for $250,000. So talk about building your buyer database for fire, police, and all those folks. It's a fantastic way to go.
Yeah,
So with that, folks,
I sold one of those, Robert, to an LAPD home in Rialto. He got it at 50% off, and he was loving it years later, right? Right.
yep. So imagine they walk into your open house and say, "Hey, are you interested in buying a home at half price?" And then explain, "I'm sorry, you're not. Do you know any fireman, teacher, whatever?" Right? So learn a little bit about it. You last. Go get some.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.